Looking to enhance the appeal and performance of your gym with state-of-the-art equipment? Look no further than the Gym Administrator. Founded by Sal Corrente, professional wrestling manager, promoter, and author of the great book Bruno Sammartino, the autobiography of wrestling's living legend, available on Amazon.com, the Gym Administrator will spot you on that final rep and assist you every step of the way from purchase through installation. Whether it be strength training, cardiovascular training, or performance enhancement, the Gym Administrator works with a wide array of leading vendors and suppliers carefully selected to meet the diverse needs of your clientele. Service the way you remember it. Contact us at 914-494-1066 or visit our website at thegymadministrator.com, as well as all social media platforms. The Gym Administrator. All your fitness needs under one roof. Scan the barcode at the bottom of the screen to get started today.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte and the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Tin Mirror Studios, Kings Park, Long Island. Right now we're trying to wait on, well, we're not going to wait on Jimmy. Hopefully he pops in. Jimmy who's having some internet connections from home. I'm sure he'll get it figured out and popped in. But lucky enough, we've got a pro wrestling great Andrew Anderson, who's with us and is taking the time out before he goes to CAC in Las Vegas to show respects. We didn't have that opportunity last week to, show our respects to Kevin Sullivan. We had already known Kevin probably was not in the best shape at the time of the show on Thursday. We had that interview with DDP, and it ended up being a little bit of a DD me interview, so it kind of took over. It was about an hour, 40 minutes of an infomercial, which I don't think me and Jimmy have never experienced before. I mean, Andrew, you've known us for a long time.
You had the Maniac on the show. That was kind of the same.
Well, it was, but I mean, you've known us for a long time. We usually could control an interview a little bit. This became pretty uncontrollable, so whatever is what it is. Andrew, before we get going, I wanted to kind of read something, like a little prayer before we start. I think
Sure.
Everybody's aware that Jimmy, myself, Andrew, we're believers in God. And so let me read this out there. Heavenly Father, we've come before you today with heavy heart, mourning the loss of a true legend in professional wrestling, Kevin Sullivan. Known to many as the Prince of Darkness, he captivated audiences with his unmatched charisma, his leadership of the Dungeon of Doom, and his fierce persona in the ring. But beyond the character, Kevin was kind and a caring soul, an angel in real life who touched the hearts of those who knew him personally. Lord, lift up Kevin's family in our prayers, especially his former wife, Nancy, whose memory still lives on, and his present wife, who stood by his side with love and support. We ask that you comfort them during this difficult time and surround them with your peace and strength. As we reflect on Kevin's life and legacy, may we remember not only his contributions to the world of wrestling, but also the warmth and kindness that he showed to those around him. May his soul find eternal rest and your loving embrace, and may his family and friends find solace in the cherished memories that they hold him. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Kevin Sullivan, thank you for what you've done for this industry. Thank you being a friend of the fans. And Andrew Anderson, thank you for giving us this opportunity to share who we could say you probably have become as close as friends in the last decade, Andrew. And again, we know how busy your schedule is, and we want to thank you for taking this time out to coming on the show.
I appreciate it, man. You and I have been friends for a long time, about what, 13 years, something like that?
Long time, bro.
So,
We've seen each other through a lot of different shit, right?
Yep. Your heart condition, my divorce, my aunt passing away, a lot of different things. We've been together, me, you, and Jimmy. So, and by the way, I'm just so glad that Jimmy found Karen and Karen McDaniel, and the two of them are great, and I love them both. Two of them. It's funny because they were both good friends of mine. I was extremely close to Karen for a number of years, and extremely close with her, and close with Jimmy. And I'm glad the two of them found each other. And I think they're a good fit, and I'm happy for them, and I love them both.
Well, I think, Andrew, like through the life or the roads that we go down, you finally hopefully you find that peace. You on the other end, right? You mentioned your divorce. You found a very lovely lady who seems to be totally involved in everything. Like both of you are involved in each other's stuff. Like you're really a true word of partnership. So I'm happy for you, man. I've known you for a long time, and I'm happy for you. And like we were discussing the other day, it's like I consider you a brother for sure, and we don't hide stuff from each other, and that I always found impressive.
And me and you, like brothers. Me and you fight.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
So I mean, we don't see eye to eye on things, and we bust each other's balls. It's the way it is. But we love each other at the end of the day,
Without a doubt, and I have the utmost, I have the utmost respect for you, Andrew, for sure.
And Kevin was like that with me too. I mean, Kevin used to, Kevin used to yell at me a lot. He used to scream at me a lot. If I didn't get a phone call at least once a day saying, "What the fuck are you doing now?" I got the conscience like, give me a fuck. Oh my fucking God, would you? He'd always get upset, and Kevin would yell at me sometimes, and he'd always every time something happened, if I got a hangnail, Kevin said, "You're a fucking hypochondriac. You're gonna die already from a hangnail." So he'd always call me the hypochondriac. So we'd always crack up. But Kevin over the past, I know Kevin for over 30 years, extremely close with him for the past 20 years, extremely close with him for the past 15. Kevin breathed life into my career, and I did to him the same. We took bookings together. We worked together. We were on the verge of something great. I brought him to Tom Lance and to SWE Fury in Texas, and that was great. He, on the other hand, brought me to Nilio and CCW in Florida, which did the CWF Championship Wrestling from Florida Resurgence, which was also great. So we did a lot towards the end together, but we were also talking about reforming the Army of Darkness. He put Mark Lewin's original robe on me, made me the new Purple Haze. All that being said, he was like a father to me. And, he would always constantly tell me, I yell at you because you're my son. And he didn't have the best relationship with his own son and daughter from the first marriage, which was just, they were not good to him. So that's all I'm going to leave it at that. But as far as Kevin goes, with the passing, he got extremely sick.
Well, let me slow you down on that, right? So I had spoken to Kevin. To be fair, Andrew, I don't really remember the exact time, but it was about 6 months ago. I'm like, "Hey, Kev, you want to come on the show?" Whatever. He's like, "Yeah, let me get back." But this seemed very sudden. So for the people that aren't in the know, can you please explain and walk through what happened to Kevin, and then how did it go downhill so fast?
Well, Linda was preparing the house for sale in Seattle. So Kevin, being Kevin, was driving her crazy. I mean, listen, Kevin's a pain in the ass. I love him. I love you, Kev. I love you. Wherever you are, you're driving the big man crazy. The devil was the easiest guy. Cuban would tell you, Dave Fidel Sierra would tell you, Cuban could drive anybody fucking to drink. Kevin could drive anybody to drink. So he was driving Linda crazy. So Linda said, once you go, he stayed with Nicole for a while when she was living in Florida. He stayed with her. Then he went back up to Seattle for a little bit and helped Linda get everything in order for the sale of the house and everything. And then he went back down to Florida and moved to live with his temporarily while she was getting the closing and everything, handling all that, to a friend of theirs, John. John had back surgery. Nice guy, really nice guy. Involved a lot in the Florida days, not in wrestling directly, but he was a friend of them from Florida and a close friend of Kevin's. And Kevin apparently fell. He had a fall and he hurt his leg. He didn't pay attention to it. He got a blood clot. The blood clot got operated on. Infection set in. They got out most of it. He had to have a defibrillator put in, so they readjusted. They put a new pacemaker in so he can have the major surgery, which was to save his leg. All that being said, sepsis was a bitch. It debilitated him. It left him, bedridden. He was in a good hospital, but Nicole moved him from the hospital he was in to a better hospital because the original hospital he was in was the shits. So Nicole, the girl, his daughter, is a godsend. She is an angel. She took care of her dad, like a daughter should. And his other daughter, Bianca, also, she works in Seattle and area, so it was harder for her to get down, but she did everything too. She's an angel as well. They're both great. And Linda, of course, is Linda. She's awesome. Kevin got the infection. Apparently, he was in the hospital apparently he was in the hospital for about 2 months at the time. And he got encephalitis, which affected his brain, causing him to have like severe dementia. And he was in and out. And there's like Gangrel and a couple other guys, Jeff Gardner, the Snake Master Jeff, and then went to visit him. They said he was like incoherent sometimes. He was talking gibberish. And Kevin would call me all hours of the night when he had his cell phone when he was in the hospital. Where are you, you fuck? Where are you? Get over here. You haven't eaten freaking 10 days. They had him intubated. They had him intubated because he had to recover from the infection. So it was true. He didn't eat in that time. He'd call me up screaming, "Where are you? Fuck, you never answer your phone." Kevin was calling all hours. I would crack up saying, "Kevin's using his phone. He's launching missiles in the Ukraine." So I would say, "Kev, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're pressing buttons all over the place." He's calling that one. He was trying to figure. He was upset with his situation, which is understanding. I'd call him and ask him, "Kev, how you feel?" "How the fuck do you think I feel? I feel like shit. I'm in the hospital. They cut up my leg. I got a hole in my leg." It was horrible. Anyway, I get a phone call that Kevin's up in Massachusetts. Nicole had him shipped up there so he can get a better hospital because the hospital he was in was not taking care of him at the rehab. So she got him in a pretty good rehab up in on the outskirts of Boston, and Karen and I flew right up right away. We drove up there and stayed a few days and went to see him. And he wasn't in good condition. He was a lot better. I really thought he was going to kick out of it. So we spent time with him, and with Linda and Nicole, and he was sometimes he was Kevin, other times he was in and out, but we really I thought maybe he'd be able to survive this and kick out. And the last things that Kevin said to me when I saw him, and I knew it was going to be the last time I saw him because of what he said. He looked at me and I said, "Papa, I love you." I used to call him Papa, not only because he's like my father, but basically he was like a father to me. But I call him Papa. The inside joke because he was Papa Smurf. So I'd call him Papa. I said, "Papa, I love you." He goes, "I love you too." I said, "No, I really love you." He goes, "I love you fucking too." And then he looks at me and I said, "We're gonna go." He goes, "Okay." And he looks at Karen and says bye to Karen. He loved my little dog. He met my puppy, Bailey. and and Nicole and Linda were there, and he looks at me and he says, "Hey," I'm thinking he's gonna say something like a wise ass remark. He goes, "Hey," calls me over, and I look at him. I go, "What?" He goes, "When I die, we're gonna tag, but you're gonna do all the work." And I look at him and kind of looked at him and I said, "What's different about that? You know, what's so different about that?
Yeah.
You know?"
Yeah.
I was like, so he was like, he just looked at me, smiled to laugh, and he goes, "Remember." And I said, "Okay, I will." And I gave him a kiss and I gave him a hug, and we left. And then I got a call from Linda saying that he's taking a turn. And Linda and Nicole both called me up and said he's going into hospice. And I don't know how it happened, but I get a phone call and a text from Rob Feinstein saying, "I heard Kevin's really doing bad. He's in ICU. What's going on?" How the fuck does Feinstein know what's going on? So, but I was like, people will call me all over, and at the request of the family, and it's understandable. I had to tell them, he's fine. He's in the hospital. We didn't want anyone to know he was going through what he was going through, so we kept hush hush. And I get a call on Friday night that Kevin passed from Nicole, and it was tough. I lost my shit. I mean, somebody has such an impact. Now a lot of people don't know it. I grew up watching Kevin. I grew up watching Kevin. I watched the Army of Darkness form. I watched him turn on Barry Windham. I watched all that shit on UHF stations, on the old UHF stations on from Florida. You had Telemundo, and then you had all of a sudden at midnight on Friday nights, Championship Wrestling in Florida, in New York. It was up in New York, and I would watch it. For me to be a fan of his work, to be able to become family to him, was a big deal. And it was like, it's also like, my relationship with Ace Frehley. It was a pinch me moment, because you're a Kiss fan your whole life, and all of a sudden, you're friends with Ace for close to almost 35 years. I'm friends with him for almost 35 years. So, and Ace and Kevin became friends.
Well,
and Ace left.
I love the comment of the pinch me moment. And look, Jimmy and I had senior interactions with Kevin, right? And definitely there was that father-son. I mean, the way he would speak about you was this proud father, and about this wrestler who has all the goods. He was so enamored by you, like it was kind of an amazing relationship. I want to ask you a question though, right? When the GoFundMe came out, the one wrestler I did not think would ever be a GoFundMe, right, or anybody, was Kevin Sullivan, right? Here is this iconic wrestler, even more an iconic booker, had a career expanding, 40-something years.
Mm-hmm.
What happened there?
Well, Kevin's insurance ran out. His health insurance ran out. Medicare would not cover anything. Kevin went through multiple lawsuits on his property in Washington. With Linda and him had a really bad border dispute with their neighbor, and Kevin being Kevin, he wouldn't stand down, and he spent well over a few $1 million on this dispute, fighting with the attorneys. He really thought his property was worth a lot of money, and he was fighting for it, and it was over a fence basically, and a property line. And I lost you. Are you there?
You're good. Keep going.
Yeah, I can't see you, but it was over a property line and stuff, and that's I really don't know the whole gist of it. Hey, Jimmy, I see Jimmy Farrow.
No. That's somebody else. It's got to be at this point.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Is it Eddie Kramer? No.
You're a
Jesus
douche.
Christ.
Eddie Kramer. Why you? What are you mentioning Ace Frehley for? Where is he? Hi, Andrew.
I don't see it. I don't hear any British accent. So.
Ew. How you doing, you wanker?
All right. Well, let's continue on.
Yeah.
Jimmy, welcome.
So-
Go ahead.
So yeah,
Thank
so
you,
I don't really.
thank-
So I mean, his insurance right now, Medicare only covers so much. He was on Medicare, like everybody else. I mean, at that point in time, I guess I don't know what all the finances were. That was never my really concern with them. I mean, that's kind of private. But yeah, Kevin's insurance ran out, and the insurance was maxed out from being in the hospital for over 45 days.
All right. Well, look, Andrew, this isn't busted open, right? So these aren't going to be the easiest questions. Before we get to the good, friendly stuff, next question for you. We've been around for a long time, right? This channel's been around for a long time. I think Jimmy and myself have been clear to whoever watches this channel how we feel about Chris Benoit and what he did to his family. But the one thing that continually comes up is the ridiculous statement that Kevin was involved in that thing. The question.
Listen,
hold on. Give me one.
Linda,
Let me just finish, and then it's all you.
All right.
And Mike,
Right.
I saw that today. I was reading comments from people on Facebook today.
Yeah.
They're still doing it, Mike. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So my question is, Andrew, I'm sure if Monte and the Pharaoh are getting a kabillion Kevin did it responses, Kevin must have. How did Kevin, I'm sure he must have shared this with you, what was his feelings about this disgusting portray by the internet wrestling organization out there?
He no-sold it. He ignored it. He no-sold it. And it hurt Linda. It hurts Nicole. It hurts Bianca. And it hurt Kevin a lot that he would hear all this shit being put out. And right now, these fucking trolls, idiots, conspiracy theorists are trying to say that he still had something to do with it. And there's a Facebook page, a Kevin Sullivan Facebook page. Somebody put it up for Kevin in the early 2000s when Facebook first came out. They tried to do it to be helpful to Kevin, but these trolls have taken it over, and they're posting all this shit on it. There's nobody monitoring it, and these idiots are saying Kevin did it, this and that. I'm going to say once and for all for these fucking morons. The man was fucking married, happily married to Linda. The shit with Benoit happened years later. There was no fucking big conspiracy. Kevin had nothing to do with it. This is not whodunit like the Jimmy Snuka murder trial. This has nothing to do with that. It was obvious Chris Benoit was a fucking a nut job that killed his fucking family. You're barking up the wrong tree. Find somebody else to fuck with because you guys are morons. All right? He was a sick man towards the end of his life. He had congestive heart failure. His heart filled with his body filled with fluid. He had sepsis. He had organ failure at the end. And, these people are putting shit out there that he had something to do with the murders. It was nothing of the sort. He was so disgusted with the whole thing. Nancy Benoit was a psychopath. She was crazy. She would do shit. I know she stabbed Kevin. She cut him. She threw things at him. She beat the shit out of him, and he would not fight back. Sometimes he would. Sometimes he wouldn't. Whatever that case was, they had a tumultuous relationship. But you know what? He never had nothing to do with that. That was over and done. It was water under the bridge. Benoit married her. That was Benoit's wife. What the fuck? Grow up, you fucking morons. Find somebody else to pick on. The man is dead, and now in death when he can't even defend himself. Not that he ever bothered to defend himself. He wouldn't fucking pay fucking mind to you idiots out there. You fucking assholes. Blind fucking morons. Find somebody else to fucking talk about. It's just such fucking bullshit. It's just such fucking bullshit. And the other thing about Kevin being a devil worshiper, Kevin was a fucking Irish Catholic. He was a fucking altar boy. He was a fucking God-fearing Christian. All right. Okay. As a wrestler, we're all a little fucking twisted in our own way. But Kevin was the devil in a way, but he was a different kind of devil. When I say devil, he was a fucking funny little devil. He was a troublemaker sometimes. Kevin was a handful. Kevin was tough to deal with. But Kevin was no devil worshiper, man. No different than anybody else. who puts on the eye makeup on, Alice Cooper, Kiss, The Undertaker, or anyone else who put fucking makeup under their eyes to look like a little bit dark. Come on, really. If that's the case. The guy who played Voldemort for Harry Potter. Oh, he's Satan. He's Satan himself. Come on, give me a fucking break.
Andrew, it's fitting that perhaps one of the finest, if not the finest mind in the history of this business paid no mind to the mindless. Let's leave it at that.
He wouldn't sell it. He wouldn't sell it.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you one thing, that whole fucking situation, it hurt Kevin. It hurt Kevin. It hurt his career. And I got to tell you, I know Kevin for years. I know Kevin for a long time. I know him better than most people. And Kevin was driven into depression because of this. Kevin suffered from depression. Linda had to live with that. Linda and Nicole had to live with that. At times, I would have to feel it. I was getting yelled at. I was getting screamed at. And the depression was the fact that Kevin never got hired by a major company. He never got hired to do things. He wanted that last run. In a way, he got it with SWE Fury, because Tom and Jason Jarrett and the other partners over there, they really hooked him up and they had a good thing going. But that dissolved. As you know, that didn't work out. And then there was CWF in Florida, and Kevin always had an open door policy with Nilio and the promoter, and he took care of Kevin a lot. And I want to thank Nilio. I can't thank him enough. Him and Gangrel, Gangrel runs the school and he's partners with CCW and Bruce and all those guys down there. They all always made sure that Kevin had work, and Kevin contributed so much to them and came up with the angles, the story angles, the plot lines, and everything. And so that was sort of like Kevin's last run, and we wanted CWF to really take to the air. And a year ago, this past June, not this past June, the one before that, we did CCW TV tapings in Pompano Beach, Florida, and they were tremendous. They were some of the best stuff we've ever filmed and I've ever been involved with. And the production was incredible. Not only was I there, Karen was there. It was Blake, what's his name? Trooper Blake Troop, whatever was there.
He's been on the show. You could catch on the Monte The Pharaoh.
Yeah, Blake was there. I'm trying to think who else. Brian Brock, the Crown, a lot of the CCW regulars, Cha Cha Charlie, Gangrel obviously won the CWF heavyweight title from Alex Chamberlain. It was all the product of Kevin. Bill Alfonso was involved. I had we had a tag team matches. We actually did me and Brian Brock had this amazing brawl like outside the parking lot that went all over the freaking building into the parking lot, and it was just incredible. And it was the atmosphere was great. It was like Florida was. It was like Eddie Graham was watching down on us. You had pictures of Dusty Rhodes, Eddie Graham, and everyone. It was just such a fucking good vibe, and but it ran into some hiccups, and it's still not dead. It's still alive and still in production. We're gonna be working on it soon, hopefully, and now Kevin's picture will be up there looking down on everybody, and it's just like one of those things that Kevin always wanted to have that one last run. And was it jealousy? A lot of it was jealousy, because I think people were afraid that once Kevin's mind opened up and Kevin spoke, people wouldn't have jobs, because Kevin would have a job.
Yeah, but you know what, Andrew? To be fair, I thought Kevin and yourself actually were a little too nice. I mean, I'm not going to attack Hannibal on the channel, but allowing that nutcase into what you guys were trying to build screwed up a lot of stuff, right? And I know you're friends with the guy. I'm not asking you to trash. I'm just saying Kevin knew better, He
knows how I feel. That got us banned from Texas. That shit got us banned from Texas.
Right.
That got us banned from Texas. And to this day, Kevin and I would not get booked on anything in Texas. We still could not get booked. We got blacklisted in Texas, Kevin and I.
Mike, I'm starting to feel better about giving Kevin a hard time about Hannibal the last time he was in studio.
Yeah, no, Jimmy, and that conversation,
You know,
you were
I mean, Andrew, you know, we say what it's like. You know what I mean? And
you were
Hannibal's an absolute train wreck.
you were 100% right on that when you brought that up to Kevin, right? Because again, letting
Yep.
that, again, I'll call him a nutcase because he's a nutcase. You letting that guy into your organization, I don't know what you're doing. It was a huge mistake. But anyway, I don't want to make this about Hannibal. This is a
Yeah.
tribute to Kevin, right? Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah,
You're on. You're on.
Absolutely. Andrew, listen, we know you've been in the business for a very, very long time. You've made a lot of friends, and sadly enough, you've lost a lot of friends. Is Kevin's passing the one that affects you the most at the end of the day? I know how close you were to him.
you were with me at the bar and
Yeah.
in Charlotte,
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
he was still alive, and people would ask me how bad is he, what's going on, everything, and I knew how bad he was. I just couldn't say it, and you were with me at the breaking point. You know,
Yeah.
you with me at the breaking point when somebody just said something. I lost it. You know, I mean, he was. This is the hardest thing I had to deal with in a long, long time. I think my mom's death. I was young, you know, and I mean, I look, I really, really was affected by Jimmy Snuka's death. I loved him. Nikolai Volkov's death. That was a major blow to me. They were friends, close friends of mine. And my old tag team partner in the Indies when I was breaking in the business, Thunderbolt, Mike Norton.
Andrew, I not to cut you off, but I remember the day I called you. I guess you remember I called you about Laurinaitis, Road Warrior Animal passing.
Oh my God!
And
yeah,
that was
Joe,
like what was one of the worst phone calls I had to make. I don't ever look. You know, you're a big boy, right? Professional wrestler your whole life. I remember when that happened. I told Jimmy I couldn't believe what was going on. You know.
Yeah, I lost it. Joe and I, we've gotten close in the past. Like we knew each other for years. We knew each other for 25 years, 30 years. You know, we've been in the ring together. We did a lot together. And when Joe died, I just remember losing it. And I called Kevin up, and Kevin goes, he goes, oh, this is a tough one. I said, yeah. I said, it's a tough one. You know, and Kevin, the funny part was Kevin just finished reading his book. Kevin just finished reading his book 3 days before Animal died. And, you know, Joe was really, I was hard, you know, I mean, I was on the phone with Kim and Animal's daughter and Lindsay. And that was tough. That was tough. You know, that was a hard one to swallow. Me and Jerry Bostic from World Class Wrestling Revolution were doing a lot of work with Animal. And it was hard, you know. I mean, all these deaths were just, but Kevin's was different because while Joe and I were buddies, always talking about stuff on the phone a lot, you know, seeing each other at conventions and everything. I didn't break bread on a regular basis with him. He wasn't in my house. He didn't live, you know, like family together. You know, I didn't spend so much time with him. I wasn't on 5 continents with Joe like I was with Kevin. I wrestled on 5 fucking continents with Kevin. Kevin got me booked everywhere. You know, Kevin, whenever Kevin brought, you know, there was an old saying that wherever you saw Jimmy Snuka, you saw the Iron Sheik because they were really good friends. And Sheiky and Jimmy went everywhere together. Wherever Kevin went, Kevin would always make sure I had a spot. You know, Kevin would always make sure I had a spot. And whenever I went anywhere, like when I went to Texas to SW Fury, I called Tom Lance and said, Tom, you got to use Kevin. Me and Kevin had this thing where we would bring Kevin into a company, and that company he brought in Indiana Powerhouse Wrestling was an example. They booked me. I got Kevin in. Kevin came in for my booking alone with Kevin. We drew about 500 people. Me and Kevin, the second booking with the Steel Cage main event, we drew about 1,000 people. So the numbers were just like multiplying. SW Fury, when Kevin came along, Kevin opened the door. Kevin and Teddy Long now, James Beard, everybody. It was just unbelievable. They had this great booking committee, and it went from 300 people to 500 to 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000. So you had everything just multiplying, and it was Kevin. It was a lot of it was Kevin. It was wherever Kevin went, and Kevin got a reins of the book. He put together Moonshine and Max. He did the stuff with me and Flash Flanagan with the lighter fluid, and you know, I mean, I made TMZ twice with Kevin. You know, unfortunately, the first one was with the Hannibal incident, which was, you know, I really didn't want to be part of that. I didn't know it was going to be like that. It was actually kind of, you know, detrimental in the long run, but made it the one when we were on a SICW, and Kevin and I decided to pour a lighter fluid on Flash Flanagan, and we were just about to set him on fire when the referee we didn't smarten up the referee, and the referee grabs the igniter out of my hand and snaps it, and flames hit on the igniter, and I almost set the guy on fire. That would have been a major faux pas, you know. So that we got a lot of death threats and hate mail, and wow, I was getting death threats for like 3 weeks after that to a month, you know. But it was all Kevin's ideas. Kevin came up with these different ideas that nobody really came up with, you know, and he was always on the edge. Kevin was that mind that was always there. He didn't believe in garbage wrestling. He didn't believe in cheap heat. He believed in shit that can be built up and bring people back. Kevin had the mind that he would look at things like Nelio said, he would look at things innocently. Like, what would a kid look at this like? What would the children look at this like? What would a young wrestling fan look at this? Would they believe it? Would it have the suspension of belief? You know, and in many ways, one of the ways I could tell you that Kevin's mind was always thinking was he could not, for the life of it, understand the Orange Cassidy gimmick. He despised that gimmick. He thought the guy was talented, but he could not understand it. He would look at it and go, he'd get sick when he'd see that. I think it was just couldn't understand it. He said, this kid has talent. He goes, what the fuck? You know? Could not understand it. Certain things he could not, you know, and Kevin wasn't one of those older guys that would look at wrestling and say, oh, fuck, I don't watch this. It's not like what it used to be. You know, and in a way, sometimes I'm like that. I look at this and say, these guys are doing 1,000 fucking high spots. They're doing all these freaking, how many suicide dives in a match, how many sentons in a match. And nobody works a headlock. Nobody, you know, I mean, I'm like that sometimes. But Kevin taught me to watch, to look, to watch this stuff, to see what's going on. Kevin always had it. Kevin was so excited with this past WrestleMania. He was so excited about it. He thought it was the best WrestleMania ever in years since the first three. And he thought this was like a new life into the business. And, you know, Triple H was doing a bang up job. And, you know, he was great. He was always there for it. He was like I said, he was always there for the hot tag. You know,
Andrew, I always thought, and Jim, I want Jimmy to weigh in too, is as great as a wrestler as Kevin was, I always felt he was probably one of the greatest bookers of all time. I mean, if you go back into the beginning of the Monday Night Wars with Brian Pillman and the Booker Man situation, and I'm going to ask you, maybe you know, I'm assuming Kevin really knew what was going on there. Pillman wasn't going rogue. They worked that out together. Is that factual?
It was 50-50. It was 50-50. Pillman was definitely a loose cannon, you know, and Kevin would constantly say, you know, he never knew what Pillman was going to do, and Pillman never knew what he was going to do. You know, it was so that was a two-way street. So
yeah, well, I think that worked to their benefit, quite honestly.
It did. It definitely did. Like Kevin turned the Benoit angle with Nancy into a work shoot.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Jimmy, before you get to the next question, I just have to ask, since he just mentioned it, Andrew, did Kevin ever share with you how he felt after building that angle that Nancy all of a sudden in real life started to sleep with Benoit? Did he ever share that with you?
He said he knew that was going on for a while. So he was already he was already dissolved with Nancy by that time. They've gone their separate ways by that time.
Gotcha. Thank you, Andrew.
So, just I mean, I just Kevin wouldn't. When you guys had Kevin on, Kevin never wanted to talk about that. That was one of the prerequisites,
Yep, that's exactly
And
right.
I'd always tell you guys whenever I brought Kevin into the studio with me, and I tell you guys Kevin's calling in, don't say nothing about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, I always tell you,
Right.
try to drift away from it. I know you guys want the scoop, and you want to know what happened, what really happened, and everything, but certain things Kevin wouldn't talk about, and that was one of them.
Right.
Like,
guys, I don't know if you guys remember, but I do remember when we were having that steak dinner way back in Northport with you and Kevin. I think Tony Atlas might have even been there with Sunny Beach. But I remember it coming up in conversation, and Kevin pretty much blew it off like a fart in the wind, but he clearly was not letting it, eat at him or anything like that. He was like, because we basically said to him, we think it's a bunch of shit, the Benoit stuff. And it wasn't, he was cool about it. He wasn't like, guarded, like, oh God, don't you dare talk to me about this, because maybe because the cameras weren't on. But it's something that I do remember, though, Andrew. I remember it very clearly. And he was basically like, fuck it. It's nonsense. People are full of shit. And we stated the same opinion, As far as his aura, I think that Kevin was held back as a booker because other cocks had to be bigger. I believe that. I mean, there's no way of sugarcoating that shit. But to me, Kevin was a very strong aura. Kevin was very smart. And when you're very smart and you have a very strong aura, you're going to have some jealous motherfuckers.
I guess my point, though, Jimmy, is as great as Kevin was as a wrestler, he was 5 times better as a booker. The guy was a genius. Jimmy, that you bring up that Northport thing. So, Andrew, I kind of want to share this before I ask you this next question, right? So, I forget what event we were at, but, Sunny Beach, also a friend of the show, we were all going out to dinner. Kevin,
hold on a second. Hold on.
Go ahead.
I got. I'll be remiss if I don't do this.
Okay.
We're all going out to dinner to Rope Keys. You want to go anywhere? To Rope Keys. We're going to Rope Keys.
Very good.
Yeah. I said to Rick. I said, Rick, send Kevin a get well thing. We're going to go out to dinner. We'll see you at dinner. We'll have a dinner at Rope Keys.
Hey, you got to take the cheap shot out, man. You know what I mean?
Always.
But here's the best thing. So I think me and Jimmy are doing an event. Andrew goes to, I call it Rob Keys. They go to Rob Keys, him and Kevin, and I get there with Rick and Jimmy, and I think Atlas was there too, Jimmy. I'm not exactly.
I think so.
I got to look at the picture. But we walk in. There's already a $350 bar bill between Sullivan and Anderson, and I look at Rick and I go, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" But Here's my funny Kevin Sullivan story. Then, Andrew, I'm going to tell you your funny Kevin Sullivan story. We're sitting at the table, and Kevin's pretty much gone, right? You guys had drank quite a bit of whiskey and everything else.
2 bottles of Jameson and a half a bottle of Bailey.
So Kevin starts talking the story about his neighbor. And I guess the neighbor was on the spectrum. I'm going to say autism, for example.
Yes, the neighbor's son.
Yes, the neighbor's son. And he's going on his rant for about 20 minutes. And he's looking at me. And he's like, "Why are you looking at me like this, Monty?" And I'm like, "No, just my daughter has autism." Remember, the table froze, and Sullivan was so fucking pissed off because everybody's looking at him like he's the biggest piece of crap going. And then I bust out laughing, and he was like, "Do you remember that, Jimmy and Andrew?"
He looked at you, Mike. I remember because he looked at you and went, "You motherfucker!"
Exactly.
Exactly like that. That's a great imitation. Exactly
you
like that.
Motherfucker.
Well, Mike, I love the fact that you just stirred the pot just to shit stir it. His face was priceless.
It was priceless.
Listen, I totally forgot about that, but you were Mike, you were deadpan the way you said that.
Yeah.
He looked at him and he goes, "Wow." You went, "Kevin, my daughter has autism," and he was like, everybody at the table looked at Kevin like, "You're an asshole."
I know, it was great.
But everybody was laughing at first, but then all of a sudden when you said that, everybody else, you did the big swerve on Kevin.
It was awesome. Let me ask you, Andrew, in all the times you traveled with Kevin, what is your favorite story?
Oh my God. I kind of got into this on Busted Open. So Kevin would be constipated on the road. He like he would say him and Valentine had this. Him and Greg Valentine had the same fucking.
We know about Valentine's bathroom habits.
Yeah,
Trust me.
him and Valentine had the same. Him and Valentine had the same bathroom habits, and I was on a roll with Greg more times than most. Both of them would systems would shut down, and they'd both be bitching that they're all plugged up. That's Greg. Greg used to come to me and go, "I'm all plugged up. Have you been able to go?" And so Kevin on the other hand would say, I'm all stuffed up inside there. And he'd look at me and would wait, and he'd be in the locker room and he'd come up to me in front of people and say, "Hey," he goes, "I'm gonna pull down my pants. I'm gonna ask them to stay in front of them. I've been plugged up. I'm gonna see if this kid over the young rookie kid," he goes, "if he can pull the turd out of my butt to freaking help me out." So he'd do that to a kid in the locker room, a young kid, and the kid would be like fucking mortified. Do I do it? But some of them were like, "Do I do it?"
He is an icon. Maybe I should pull that piece of shit out of his ass.
But no. So now getting back to the story. Now we're doing the world class shows in Texas. We're doing world class and Wrestling Revolution for Jerry Bostic, and Jerry's just starting to get some momentum after the whole Hannibal thing, and this is right before the Hannibal shit happened. So we're starting to get big crowds and everything. It's really turning up, and a lot of the trickle down from SWE Fury is coming Bostic's way, and everything's going good. SWE's world class is doing good. Now we get a 4:00 call time. We were out the night before, and we were out partying pretty heavy and drinking, as we always did at the time. And we were kind of hungover. 2:00 in the afternoon, Kevin sets the alarm. I made it for 3:30. I said, "Kevin, we got a 4:00 call time. I'm just gonna sleep a little longer." I was like, "All right." He said, that was around 2:00. He said, "I haven't shit. Can you give me one of those laxatives that you bought at Walmart?" Okay. I give him one. That was at 1:30. 2:00. I look at the package, and the blister pack has like 6 of them gone.
Jesus.
So I'm like, "Kev, did you take these?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm all plugged up." "Kevin, you're supposed to take 1, maybe 2. I said, "You took 6. He's like, "Don't worry about it. I've done this before." I said, "All right." I'm going in the shower. 3:30. I'm in the fucking shower. His alarm is going off. I hear banging on the fucking shower, the bathroom door. Andrew, open up the fucking door. Get out of the shower. I got to shit. I'm like, "Would you fucking wait?" "I got to shit. I can't wait." I'm like, "You fucking ribbing me?" "No, open the door." So open the door. I open the door. He comes running past me. His pants are already fucking down around his ankles. Underwear are down. I'm soaking wet and dripping, holding my towel, looking at him like he's out of his fucking mind. He sits down and drops the Enola Gay drops the bombs on Hiroshima.
No.
I hear the floodgates open right after that. 2 bombs and then the flood. Boom, boom, and then the freaking waterfalls come shooting out of his ass. I'm cracking the fuck up. I go, "You're a sick bastard. I told you to take 2. As I said 2, there was a tile floor outside the bathroom. My fucking heel slipped. I did a fucking bump from fucking hell. I look like Ray the Crippler Stevens taking those crazy bumps that he used to take. Or the old Bobby Heenan bump where just flying in the air, feet, ass over tea kettle. And I hit, and when I hit the tiles, I felt something warm and flat. He fucking shit a trail on the tile floor that I slipped on the shit, landed on it, and the devil being the devil. I told you I had to shit. Because you couldn't open up the fucking door fast enough.
Oh boy.
So that was one of many.
That's the all-time favorite, huh, Andrew? Slipping on poop.
There's nothing like a good shit story, right, Jimmy?
Oh my God.
The other one, we're sitting in the middle of a fucking store, and we're trying to get food, and he's like, "Hey, I know how we're gonna clear this place out." I said, "How?" I said, "What are we gonna do?" He said, "It's sick." He turns around and says, he goes, I'm gonna put my hand down my pants, put my thumb through my fly. You get down and suck on it, and people will run.
Oh my God.
That was Kevin for you, you know. Kevin would say shit like that, you know. I mean, and you just can't help but laugh. He would make you laugh. He was so crazy. I mean, one of these days we have more time to share more stories. I'll tell you the stories about how him and his brother Johnny almost burned down at Muncie, Indiana, and the stories about Zippy the baboon, you know, and the caged baboon that used to fight people in Indiana at the state fairs. So he would tell me these fucking stories. He told me so many stories, man. I mean, I could write a freaking book with all what Kevin told me, you know.
Well, I gotta tell you, man. When you look back at your life, you're gonna look at this relationship with Kevin Sullivan, and you're gonna look back at and smile, right?
I do. Dude, I smile. I smile as much as I cry that he's gone, and my heart breaks. I smile and I thank God every day. I mean, look. And I'm going to tell you this. I mean, I wouldn't be with the love of my life if it wasn't for Kevin. So Kevin actually inadvertently hooked me up with Karen through TSA. Linda gave Kevin all these books on the way going to the Cauliflower Alley Club. And, you know.
All right, wait a minute. You got to slow down now because this seems like a pretty solid story. So, all right, explain to me. Tell me what happened here.
I'm going through TSA. Kevin and I are going through TSA. And I see this stunning, beautiful woman coming through I call it the maze where the mouse goes through to get the cheese at the end, you know? So yeah. She's milling through this thing, and I see this tiny little girl going through, and I see, Jesus Christ, I make eye contact with her, and I was like, wow. And I look at Kevin, and Kevin goes, all right, here we go. That's what he said when I looked at her, and he turns around. So we go through TSA, and I'm fucking dumbfounded. This girl's like 2-3 people behind me, and I'm staring at her out of the corner of my eye. Kevin, in the meantime, gets caught up in TSA with all the books. They didn't know what the hell he had. I don't know how they can make mistaken books for bombs or whatever, but he's banging on the glass. Our only book. In the meantime, Karen was coming from Norway from a training in Norway for a therapist training in Norway. She had bought in Norway duty-free alcohol, so they had that. They stopped her for that, and they're running it through the chemical test inside that one thing that they could look to see if it's duty-free and sealed and everything, everything was kosher. Kevin starts banging on the glass. I want my shit. What the fuck? My flight's gonna leave now. If you know Kevin would get to the airport 7 hours early. So we were running late. We were only like 2.5 hours early. So Kevin was in high anxiety. So now he's banging. He needs his shit. He's got to get to the terminal in time, to the gate. Now you have Karen looks over. She looks over me. I look over her and I go, I need a drink. She goes, me too. I took that ball and I ran with it. We never got that drink, but we got a cup of coffee, and I fucked that up because I had a cup of coffee with cream for her, and she drinks it black, and I had mine with cream in it. So anyway, I wound up getting her another cup of coffee. So Kevin's exact words, and whenever he would tell the story to people, he said we talked, and Karen was sitting across from us. Karen came and sat between me and Kevin, got closer to us. And she said she could tell the relationship between me and Kevin at the time, you know, how tight we were. And Kevin looks over, and Kevin turns around. He can't find us. They called her gate. And he says, and Kevin's exact words were, I looked over. He said, and you and her were making out on the line that was going to Costa Rica.
Wait a minute. You meet for the first time? You guys already swapping spit? What's going on here, Anderson?
Listen, it was love at first sight for the both of us.
Wow.
You know, and he looked over, he goes, hey, you look like you were going off to Vietnam to war.
Yeah, I got to get out. Listen, we're almost out of time, Andrew. I want to thank you again for having this tribute to the great Kevin Sullivan. I want to remind everybody, Andrew Anderson, lifelong professional wrestler. You know, it's hard enough to be a professional wrestler for 5 years, 10 years. Andrew Anderson's been hitting this for like 20 some odd years.
31 years.
30
This April will be 31 years.
31 years. You also, Andrew, has also been an actor. You could see him on one of the greatest movies of all time, The Wrestler. He's also been part of Gotham, many commercials. He's also a bodyguard. He's bodyguarded the great Ace Frehley and other musicians along the way. Andrew, as we come to an end, my friend, we're going to ask you one thing, and would like you to send us out. If there's any message you could send to Kevin Sullivan, if you had one last thing you could say to him, what would you say?
Thank you. Thank you. That's all. Thank you. I love you, and thank you for everything you've done for me.
Andrew, very few people will be able to have the memories you had of Kevin. You were blessed to have each other as friends, and I know it's painful now, but more joy will come over the years and time as you think back on Kevin. Trust me. We love you, bro.
Andrew, we love you, brother.
I love you guys. All right, man.
We'll talk soon. God bless. Safe trip to Vegas, my friend.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.
I want to thank again the great Andrew Anderson, great friend of the show, son. We're going to call him the son of the great Kevin Sullivan. Jimmy, I want to remind everybody, our great producer, Abe, who has hung in there with us. We're going to start running our shows from 7:30 to 8:30 and then 8:40 to 9:40 moving forward. Try to alleviate Abe so he sticks with us. He's been nothing but a trooper hanging out with the show. I want to again thank Andrew Anderson. So we're coming back on live. We're gonna do The Gathering, Heaven or Hell, and we're gonna hear the stories from the great Jimmy Pharaoh as he went with his beautiful wife Karen McDaniel to The Gathering. We want to hear some stories. We got some other stuff to talk about. I'll also remind everybody, Jimmy, your internet was down, so I had shot an email to Eric Sims. So Eric Sims will be joining us on this show that will be pretty much dedicated to the great Jimmy Pharaoh and the great Jimmy Pharaoh stories, which, to be honest with you, I have not spoken to Jimmy at any great lengths in the last couple of weeks, so I'm openly excited to hear about the adventures of Jimmy Pharaoh at The Gathering. The adventures of Jimmy Pharaoh. And I'm glad your internet's up. So join us again at 8:40, where we're going live with The Gathering, Heaven and Hell. You want to send us out. And again, want to thank the great Andrew Anderson, and rest in peace, Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah, just a quick final word about Kevin Sullivan. My own personal memories of Kevin. Kevin was a good man and had some very good advice for me during a very difficult time. It was a very short window that we got to know Kevin, but it's something we'll have.
Shit, Jimmy, I forgot all about that, bro. I don't mean to cut you off, but I forgot about that conversation. Wow.
Well, oddly enough, and I'm only discovering this now, this was after $350 worth of booze that this conversation was offered to me. Here I was thinking, oh wow, he came over me while
listen, respectfully, I'm going to ask you this question. We got about a minute or so.
All right.
Can you share that conversation, or are you rather not?
Sure. Look, I'll keep it short and sweet. All right. I was basically fresh off an empty apartment post-marriage with my cats and wondering what's it all about, Alfie, as they say, and that happened to be within a week afterwards of living in, a lot of quiet with the cats, that I was contemplating about life, and Kevin managed to pull me to the side, and we all know that Kevin has had his ups and downs during his life with marriages and stuff, and he gave me really solid advice, and basically he was saying that when it comes to relationships, when there's a breakup, and if you're lucky, there's never a breakup, but if there is a breakup, realize that she was never yours. It was just your time. And I found that to be very deep. And that kind of helped me. I was like, you know what? Yeah, nobody belongs to nobody unless they choose to belong to them. So, life goes on, and he helped make me stronger. And I appreciate that. It's something I'll always remember about him. He was a good soul.
The one thing I'll leave you with this, Jimmy Pharaoh, is this. All the trials and tribulations for the many years we have been doing this show, again, with my mind, it's always much shorter than it actually is, and Jimmy always keeps me on pace there. But it makes me feel good that beyond just doing the show, that some of these people have actually done some good by you and myself, and no better than your incredible wife, Karen McDaniel. Like, I hate,
Absolutely.
honestly, dude, I really want to call her Karen Pharaoh. I really do. I like, in my heart, I want to do it, but I can't get to I want to do it, but I want to be respectful because it is Karen Pharaoh to me. But
it's Karen Pharaoh McDaniel.
Too tough, bro. Too tough. Three.
Too many. It's
too much for Monty. Monty's mind is very limited. So
wow.
But
okay.
Honestly, dude, I had
Thank
forgotten
God
about that.
It was called Axe and Smash.
I had forgotten about
simple.
that conversation, my friend, and you know what? At that time, I remember you really needed it. You did really need that conversation.
Yep, and it came from somebody very wise and someone who I respected. At the end of the day, so. It's something I'll never forget. I really appreciated it. He's a good man.
All right, bro. I will see you at 840 where it's The Gathering 2024. Heaven or hell? Got a little deal?
Heaven or hell, oh, well. See you in a little while.